So I'm an executive underwriter. I work for a large global insurance company. The company's based out of Germany, but they have offices all over the world in Chicago and New York are two of their big offices. The kind of insurance I work in, it's called financial lines. It's basically if you work for a company or a business or you're the head of a company like the CEO or the CFO and you get sued by either the shareholders or someone else who said, "Oh, you made a mistake or you did this wrong or you knew about this and you should have said something." We basically protect those people. So when they get sued for making a mistake at their job, it doesn't affect their personal income. The company will pay for it. Um, yeah, it's in general, that's what insurance is doing. It's giving people a way to manage their risk and uh, not have to worry about, whether it's fire insurance or auto insurance or anything. It's really the way to protect yourself on that unknown of what's going to happen to me. And you pay insurance a little bit every month or every year, hoping that you don't have any losses. But when you have a loss, the insurance company will pay for it. So obviously, you can't afford a huge amount of money. Most people can't, but they can afford a little bit of money every month. So that's kind of, if you think about how the math works, that's really what the whole point of it is. Um, and on the insurance company side, what you're doing is you're basically taking a whole bunch of risks, knowing that not everything is going to happen at one time. If it does, then you're in trouble. But for the most part, it's one off here and there. But if you have 1,000 risks and only one or two are bad, then you're pretty good, right? So you take that money from all of those risks and you invest it and you keep it. And then when something does happen, you can pay out to the client.
Thank you. So
That's sort of, yeah. Go ahead.
what kind of, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just think that's sort of in how it works in a nutshell.
So what do you do on a day-to-day basis? And what
Uh,
education is needed? And well, go ahead, let's do that first.
Yeah. So, in general, you have to have a college degree. Most people in my line of work have a degree in either finance or accounting or business, something like that. But there's a lot of people who work in what we do who have, they were a music major or they were an English major, they're a history, and they somehow like political science, and they just sort of got into it and um, just learned the business. And so you don't have to have a specific background. It helps to have a finance type business background, but it's not a requirement. I think it's as long as someone's willing to learn and kind of do the research, you can kind of work your way through it.
Thank you. So what would an underwriter, junior underwriter, when somebody starting out, what could they expect salary wise? And then what's the upper range of what an underwriter can make?
Yeah, so I think typically, the kids out of college are probably making, it's been a while, but I would guess in the at least 50 to 65,000. That's probably the range I would get, 50 to 65, 70,000, depending on what city. I think if you work in New York, you make a little bit more because it's New York. But if you work in Chicago, it's probably a little bit less, but it's still more than most places. So I think that's probably a good number out of college.
Okay, so what do you like about your job and what don't you like about your job?
Um, it's very fast paced, so it's kind of like shoveling a sidewalk while it's still snowing, right? So you have a list of accounts that you work on, but then you're always getting new accounts or requests or people are asking you to send them quotes. Um, so it kind of never ends. So the downside of that is you kind of always have you don't have to do it this way, but as you get older and you work your way up, you kind of have to have your phone on all the time. You have to always answer calls. Um, you can, obviously you can take vacations and you can completely disconnect, but a lot of times you sort of have to have one foot in the door because that work's going to come, it's going to be waiting for you. It doesn't really go away, or other people can't really do it for you, like while you're gone. So that's kind of the tricky part is that it's going to be waiting for you. So you always tend to do a little bit of the work no matter what. Like, when I'm on vacation, I'll usually check email and do some emails or do a couple calls, every day for like an hour or two. The good thing is it's flexible, as I can take time off as much as I need, but I always have to have a connection to what's going on.
And how did you get to where you are now? What was your career path after college?
Yeah, I was actually an accounting major, and my first job, I worked for the state of Illinois Department of Insurance. So I was auditing insurance companies. Um, that was my very first job. And then after a while, I just went to work at an insurance company doing, financial statements and accounting work. I got pretty bored of that. So I kind of worked in a more finance role at an insurance company, and then I got a little bored of that. And then I eventually moved to the business side, which is essentially selling the insurance that we're, we're booking.
Can you share with the kids, you're a CPA too.
Yes.
Can you share with the kids, what a CPA is and kind of, what it takes to become one?
Yeah. So CPA is a certified public accountant. So public accounting is either audit or tax, typically. And it's a designation that after you major in accounting, uh, you take a set of 4 exams. And if you pass all 4 of those exams, you get to be called a CPA. And that means you can sign a tax return or you can sign an audit statement. Um, that basically proves that you know a good bit about either tax, financial statements, auditing, or business law. So you kind of have to know a little of everything. No matter, even if you just go into tax, you still have to know about financial statements, or if you're going into audit, you still have to know about tax, right? It kind of makes you be a little bit of an expert at 4 different things.
So for our scholars, becoming a CPA is not easy. Those exams, people study, months for each
Yeah.
of those exams, and so and don't always pass them the first time.
Yeah, it took me a while. I failed it the first 1 or 2 times, and then I passed a couple, and then yeah, I finally got them all. So it's kind
So
of one of those, you just have to put a lot of hours in and not give up.
it's a journey, but once you pass them, you can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
So if you were to if our scholars were to be interested in this area, what should they be developing or taking? What courses should they be taking as they prepare for college?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just have a general business background, that's always helpful. And then kind of just knowing what's going on in the market, whether you just read the paper or Wall Street Journal or watch the news, like business, like, the stocks, if you follow that, that's always helpful to know what's going on in the economy, especially in my line of work. It kind of fluctuates depending on, how different economic indicators are doing. If inflation is high, that could affect banks, right? If there's a huge financial crisis and banks are going under, that's gonna make a big impact on what we do. There's going to be losses, and it's going to cause a lot of panic in the marketplace. So it's important to know what's going on in the general business environment.
And then, I mean, you still have a number of years before you can retire. So what, where do you see yourself going, or what do you plan to do, and how do you prepare for that?
Yeah, I think hopefully I kind of keep this same role. I have a team. I'm in charge of the Midwest, which is Chicago essentially, and the West, which is mostly California. Um, so hopefully that team grows, and as we have a lot of success, we get some more people. So I'll have some more people under me. Um, and then the next job would be being in charge of the whole country. And then the job above that would be not just kind of what I do, but what some other people do. So it gets bigger and bigger. So hopefully I can work my way up to that.
And then you'll retire.
Yes, then I'll retire.
Well, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your job that I haven't asked about? You think that would be
Um,
good for scholars to hear?
yeah, no, I think in general, if you work in financial services, which is, if you work for an insurance company or a bank, um, you get they're good jobs. I think they pay well, they're stable. But some people might think it's boring, right? And it might be, but it's also interesting. So you have to, if you think you can, if you're interested in numbers and if you're interested in the economy and it, it's, there's always changes going on. So it's kind of fascinating. It's a good job for people who want to, um, also, if you're a self-starter, right? A lot of it is, your boss isn't going to tell you to exactly, they can't micromanage you. So you kind of have to have a lot of initiative. So if you have that and you want to grow, you can do well just by working hard. It's not something that, um, oh, this person doesn't like me. It's a lot of it. The onus is on you to kind of work hard. And if you produce and you do well and you get a lot of new business opportunities just by calling people and working and grinding, you'll have success. And I think that's true for a lot of things. But especially in like kind of positions where you have responsibility, if you can really show your bosses that like, hey, I got this little responsibility, I killed it, I did really well, you get more, and then you get more and more, it snowballs. I think that's probably important for not just anything in finance or accounting, but just in general.
That's very true. And even, just even doing your job well,
Yeah,
right, is huge,
yeah,
because a lot of people, get lazy and don't really want to work hard. And just by
yeah,
working hard, people, your bosses will see that.
yeah, it's true.
So scholars can, I'll open it up to questions now. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask Mr. Deepak? I don't know that I can see all of you. So go ahead and just ask away because
I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Are there any benefits from your job?
Yeah, sometimes I get to travel. So I go to New York or California, places like that. It's kind of fun. I get to go to have dinners or lunches with some of the brokers I work with, and a lot of them are eventually they kind of become your friends because you see them or you talk to them a lot. So, you get to have like a work lunch or dinner with someone who's kind of your friend, right? So that's kind of nice. You get to meet with a lot of different people from different areas. You get to talk to people that run big companies and ask them questions like how they, what are they struggling with or what are the decisions they're making. So you get to learn a ton about, all sorts of different companies.
What was your favorite place to travel?
Um, that's a good one. I think probably New York. I like going to New York.
Me too. Okay, that's it.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Anyone else? Any of you guys thinking about finance? Who's good at math? Nobody's good at math? Seriously?
I'm good at math.
I'm good at math.
I'm good at math.
I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I know how to do a little something.
So the purpose of bringing these spotlights, guys, is for you guys to, those that are good at math, this might be a career that you think about, or just even going into business is something you might think about, because what is math, right? You learn math in school, but you don't know how to apply it and how to use it in your lives. So this is an example of how if you enjoy math, what you might want to do, you can look into it. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Um, how like how intense and vigorous is your workspace? You said what?
I can't get this guy out of the way. How intense is the work? There's a lot of competition, right? It's sort of when a company wants to buy insurance or they're interested in something, they go to a broker, and that broker will call, 5, 10 other insurance companies and say, hey, this is what we need. Can you give us a quote? So everyone's competing for this one piece of business, right? So you really have to understand it and work fast to like say, hey, is this something I want to do? You need to call the broker and talk to them how much, if I charge this XYZ, will they buy it, or is that too much? Or do I have to change the terms of the agreement? What I need to get this deal done. So it's pretty intense. You have to, and a lot of times, a broker will come to you and say, hey, I've got this, but I need it by, the end of the week. Can you do that? And sometimes you can do that, but sometimes you have 10 other things you have to get done by the end of the week. So you just have to either, work extra during those times to get it done. Sometimes it's, like in the beginning of January or February, it's a little bit more quiet. But at the end of the year, maybe December or in July, by 4th of July, it's, it might be super busy.
It's funny because I'm at the other end. We're shopping for insurance now. It's not it's not the same insurances that Mr. Deepak is it works in, but for my company, I'm looking at liability insurance right now. And
Yeah.
he's right. I want a quote, and my broker has to go out and talk to all these different companies, and I want it yesterday. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
wait, right? And so
Mhm.
I'm hearing it from the other end, right? I'm perceiving it
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, Deepak, thank you so much for
Sure.
being with us today. Guys, can you unmute and say thank you to Mr. Deepak, please?
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Deepak.
Thank you.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Okay, we really appreciate you sharing what an underwriter does, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, everyone. Good luck with everything.